Welcome to Phoenix and Flame, pushing through and transforming even when you feel like a pile of ash.
This podcast is not intended for use as psychotherapy. If you feel you are in crisis, please call 911 or contact your local crisis hotline. Well, welcome to Phoenix and Flame, or welcome back if you are a returning listener. We have an exciting interview ready for you today. I have been doing these You're Not Alone interviews for a while now, and I'm telling you, I have so thoroughly enjoyed getting to know and to listen to all the guests that I have had. We have today with us Diana Indries. Diana is in the UK, and I am talking from Tennessee in the United States. And we were talking earlier about, well, actually, I was fussing. I have to admit, I was fussing about technology and trying to get a podcast going and all the technology that I've had to learn. And y'all know that have been listening to my episodes for a while that technology is not my favorite. But Diana was reminding me that isn't it wonderful that here we are, we're looking at each other, we're going to be able to have this wonderful conversation and get to know about each other because of technology. It's just absolutely amazing. It gets us in contact with everyone, and really it kind of started even more so in 2020 because of COVID, and everybody was stuck at home. And so then the Zoom calls started, and kids were stuck at home and they couldn't go to school. And so we were really forced to develop this way of technologically reaching out to one another. And I really think it's been such a silver lining. So now that we can reach out and we can form relationships with people that are across the entire world, and that is just amazing. Diana was saying that she actually lives about 3 hours north of London. So this is so exciting. I'm going to back off from talking quite so much, and Diana, just kind of give you a platform just to share a little bit about what it is that you have. And I've got so many questions and comments, and I'm just so excited about what you have to share with my listeners today.
First of all, I want to thank you, Dana, so much for having me on your podcast. I'm very, very excited to be here and, to be able to share with your listeners what I have to say and, to actually meet you, although meet you basically, because it's online. But still, I'm very excited to meet you as well. And one thing I would want to point out from the very beginning is, how you said that with the pandemic and COVID and everything, we were all forced to go online. That was actually the point where we've launched Better Topics, and that was one of the main reasons why we've launched it when we did, because we weren't 100% done with the way we've created it and with everything that was with all the elements of it. But we've hurried a bit, in launching it because, as you said, so many people were physically locked in. They couldn't really get out anymore. And so many couples as well, they were physically locked in with each other and couldn't really get out. And we found that so many of them didn't even know what to talk about with each other. They were just literally watching the TV and binging on movies for quite a while. And that was it, because for so many years before that, they were focused on, other things outside the relationship. So with my husband, we thought, okay, this is actually the best timing ever. And this is the best time when most couples would actually use the Better Topics game and could benefit from it.
Oh my gosh, that is so true. Now, you're going to be explaining the game here in just a minute, but I wanted to just kind of tag on to what you just said, because I noticed that when people would get connected and they would be kind of stuck at home, the small problems that they really could kind of ignore became much larger. You're talking about couples that, would have little things between them that they just kind of could conveniently put on the back burner while they're focusing on getting the kids to school and going to work and going to the grocery store and going to work out. But when they're shoved into the house together, these very small issues got exacerbated. They were becoming really hot points. And so I'm really so glad that you all came up with what you did, and so excited to hear you share it with my listeners, because it's such a wonderful thing. And by the way, I've already shared this with one of my patients.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that.
All right, so kind of give us an understanding about what exactly, because I've been on your website and there's just so much to share. It's just amazing.
Yes. So essentially, long story short, I've created the Better Topics game together with my husband, Robert. We've created, which started as the card game, the physical card game itself, and then that migrated into also having the Better Topics app as well. So essentially is a repeatable card game for couples that helps them have those much needed deep conversations, but have them in a game like setting where the atmosphere is a lot more relaxed, and partners basically are more likely to be more honest in their answers and actually open up without having that pressure on them that, first of all, we need to talk type of discussion, and they might feel like they have to defend themselves, or even so many people are not really comfortable in sharing their feelings and talking about their feelings. So we wanted to help couples move away from those type of discussions and move to a more relaxed type of setting, game like setting that is fun, is light, but still have those important discussions that many relationships do need in order to be able to progress and grow.
You just hit it the nail on the head. I have so many conversations with my patients where they're talking about their relationship with their partner or their spouse. And sometimes the intensity, the pressure of having to address issues just shuts them down. Whether it's my patient that shuts down, but usually if they're in therapy with me, then I'm able to kind of help them work through that. Why are you shutting down and that kind of thing. But frequently, their partner or their spouse is not in therapy, and they're reticent to address topics because of the pressure, because of the intensity. And like you just said, they tend to get defensive. And then you have people also that were not raised in family environments that
Exactly.
really help to communicate. Some family environments just didn't communicate, especially about emotional issues, very well. They just
Exactly.
didn't talk about that stuff. And so you might be in a relationship with someone. It's not that they don't want to, they don't know how.
Exactly, exactly. And this as well is something that I've experienced myself. I mean, I had few relationships in my past that failed, obviously. And that was the point where I said, okay, so my career was on point, my finances were on point, I was happy with my life overall. I was already owning my house and all of that. But my relationship life basically wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. So that was the point when I started educating myself in that area a lot more, because my background per se is in law. Basically, I studied law in university, and then after that I worked in corporate, in management for so many years before actually working full time now on Better Topics. And I too come from a family, where although in a very strange way, we didn't really talk about our feelings per se. We've literally never said to each other, I love you, on a daily basis or anything. We would show it in different ways, like taking care of each other, like checking in once in a while. How are you? How you've been, how is your day going, and all of that type of thing. And that's how I perceived love, for example. Because as you pointed out very nicely, that's how I was raised. We didn't say it out loud that I love you, but we showed it to each other. And it was very interesting to me to see, when I've met my husband, that he was telling me he loves me a lot more, in the beginning that I did. And for me it came a bit quite difficult in the beginning, to actually say it. I was showing him by, cooking, for example. That's one of my love languages.
Yeah.
I think that should be, the sixth love language. I think that should be a love language by itself, cooking and food,
Yes, yes.
because that's a way how I was raised to show love. And maybe this has to do something with my cultural background as well, I don't know. But this is how I was showing him that I love him, like by cooking his favorite meals, for example, or checking in with him throughout the day. And it took him a bit of a while to understand that that's how I perceive love, and I need him to actually check in with me during the day. Even if now, for example, we are working in the same house, although different rooms, I still need him to check in with me once in a while, because that tells me, that he's thinking of me and that he loves me. And because we both understand that there are so many differences in partners generally, and from a relationship to relationship, we came up with this game idea where most people can use it as a tool to improve their relationship and also have fun, you know, with their partner. Because we both believe very strongly that anyone can have a great relationship if they're willing to put in the work for it. And that work doesn't need to be tedious work. It doesn't have to be painful, it doesn't have to be strained, it can be fun. It can be a lot of fun. And if you think about it, most things that couples can do to improve their relationship and grow their connection basically can be a lot of fun. Even things like going out together, or doing small surprises for each other, for example, and stuff like that.
That's absolutely true. I mean, there might be people, well, not might, I know for a fact that there are people out there, and sometimes they're men, sometimes they're women, that they will not darken the door of a therapist. Just saying, no judging,
Yes.
but they will play a card game. And
Yes.
there's so many problems in relationships that can be overcome if there is communication. If they can just
Exactly.
speak to one another and feel relaxed enough and safe enough in one another's presence that they can share sometimes the harder things
Yes.
and have it received well. So the communication is humongous.
Yes, yes. I mean, when I was working in corporate and I was going through this management training where they were teaching us how to assess what type of personality other people have, just by talking to them, and how to talk to them so they basically understand what you're saying, so they are willing to actually be on target in different projects, how to bring their best self out in their project basically. And depending on what type of personality they have and how creative they are, which side of projects they would fit in best, so they literally would do the work, let's say, in a more pleasant and less stressful way. And going through that training, it dawned on me because I started analyzing my family, my own family, my parents, my brother, for example. And then it made so much sense to me, why many times my parents are in conflict, why many times I was in conflict with my own brother, although we were quite close. I started understanding him a lot better and being a lot less frustrated why he's reacting in certain ways in certain situations. And this was even before meeting my husband. And even after I've met him and I realize what type of personality he has and I have, and then how our dynamic is. And also because he was using this as well, in his work, we both understood each other so much better and easier, and we would get less frustrated with how we would react in certain situations. We would be like, oh yes, he's that type of personality. I understand now why he's saying that. It's not because he doesn't care or he doesn't want to or something like that. It's just the way he reacts to certain situations and, things basically. And it dawned on me that, if more and more people would be aware of these very simple things, so many relationships would be improved on so many levels, And I had these conversations with many of my colleagues that we've gone to the same courses. And I was like, when they were saying about what issues they have at home with their partners, I'm like, well, yes, but do you remember when we were going through that training and what we've learned and how you can actually apply this at home as well, And I thought, this would be something that I honestly, if I would have the power, I would get everyone who is in a relationship to have these personality tests, both of them, so they can understand each other a lot better, especially if they are committed for a long-term relationship and especially if they want to get married. I think everyone should go through this like a quiz type thing, They should study it a bit and then have a quiz on it. And then, this itself, I think, would make their life so much easier and a lot less stressful.
Oh my God.
However, unfortunately, that is not very feasible. Hence, one of the many reasons why we've come up with this game, to give them basically a ready-to-use tool that they can use straight away without having to study on it too much or do anything with it, basically, other than literally just open the pack and start playing it.
I mean, I just love the game. It just sounds, I mean, you could sit down with a glass of wine or a beer or some tea or whatever floats your boat and just play the game. And it's, if you have 10 minutes, you can play for 10 minutes. If you want to do it longer, you can do it for longer. And something else that I like about it is you have different decks basically for different types of relationships. You want to talk about that for a few minutes?
Yes, so we have the main deck that has a lot of repeatable questions from different categories in life, basically. And for those who want to have more conversations on specific topics like intimacy or parenting, maybe, or even for new couples or past stories, they can get extensions, which are basically questions focused on those topics more, and they can add those questions to the main game and still continue playing it.
See, I love that because it's acknowledging that people, different relationships, people that are in the relationships, they are in different phases. A new relationship, they have different dynamics going on than possibly someone who is, a young family or maybe a couple that has been together for quite some time and the intimacy has gotten a bit stale and they want to kind
Yes.
of try to keep that spark alive. And so it's so nice that you have those different, add-on decks that they can like weave them in and have those questions to kind of help address those particular issues that they might have. It's not one size fits all.
Exactly, exactly. And we have focused so much on making the questions repeatable. So we have focused so much on making the questions repeatable in a way that would fit any type of relationship, whether the partners are in a straight relationship or a gay relationship, it doesn't really matter because we found that most couples will anyway face almost the same type of issues, and the
Yeah.
same type of dynamic problems in a relationship. And also, we have put in a lot of effort into making them applicable to to couples that just started dating or even couples that have been together for a longer time. Obviously it wasn't easy. It took us more than 6 months just to work on the questions themselves. And with the main deck as well, we are offering 6 custom cards so that couples can actually add their own repeatable questions or their own rewards. Because one feature that we really like about the physical Better Topics card game is that whoever wins the game, because it's actually a repeatable game that they can play over and over again. Again, I just want to mention that although the questions are the same, they're repeatable in such a way that the answers will always change every week because what people go through every week changes every time.
Hmm.
So their answers will always be new. And we are giving custom cards as well so they can tailor it literally to fit their own relationship, either by, adding their own repeatable questions or maybe their own rewards.
I love that so much. One of the examples that was given was, for example, if somebody were to say, what's your favorite ice cream? That is going to be the same every single time. And so your cards are geared in such a way that they don't ask questions like that. They ask questions that are dynamic and changing, and that you can, like you said, you can have a different answer every time the question is asked.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Okay. Well, I was kind of wondering what's some feedback that you've gotten from people that have used the cards and the game, and what kind of difference it's made and what they've told you about the difference it's made in their relationships.
The feedback has been amazing. To be honest, we didn't really know what to expect when we've launched it. We just launched it and we said, how many couples we can help, at least we're helping them. But the feedback has been so amazing. It still brings tears to my eyes and so much joy to me to see that I can actually help so many couples everywhere in the world. It's amazing, what the internet can do these days. We had one of the most amazing feedbacks that I still remember to this day very dearly is from this guy from Japan, so literally the other side of the world. And he said that he got the game because his relationship with his wife wasn't too great and he wanted to improve it. So he got the game and he said that his wife actually didn't want to play the game with him. She wasn't interested in playing any games. So what he did was he memorized some of the questions, from our card game. And during dinner, he actually just, started asking his wife those questions the way we set them out. And she started answering them. So, they had a conversation from there. And he said, it went quite well. So he was planning to do that again the next day. So you see, when I saw that email, it literally brought tears to my eyes to see that we could influence someone's relationship, even literally at the other side of the planet. It was so, so amazing to see this. And the feedback overall, it has been great. I haven't had anyone to say that they don't like it. We also had a lot of great feedback from therapists, in the US, and more of them are recommending this to their patients, especially to get them started to open up about their feelings and about the issues that they face. Because, as you very nicely said in the beginning, not everyone is used to opening up straight away and, sitting back on a couch and just talking about their feelings. It's a great setting because, again, it's a game, it's lighter. And another really great feedback that we got was from this couple who, although they are our friends, they backed us because when we started, we've launched it via a Kickstarter campaign. And this couple, they are in their mid 50s, and they said they don't really need the game per se. They've been together for 30 odd years. Their relationship is great. They get along very well, but they will still back us because they're friends, and they want to support us.
Yeah.
So once they got the game, I still asked them to actually play it so they can give me some feedback because although I've created it together with my husband, we do have a one-sided point of view towards it because it's ours. We created it. It's in a way our first baby together. And we wanted to see what others think about it who have never seen it before, so we can actually tailor it and improve it. And they've played it, and then their email really surprised me because they said, listen, we've been together for so many years, everything has been great, like we didn't have any major issues in our relationship. However, this game still sparked a lot of interesting conversations, and it helped us look at things from a very different point of view, which was really useful. And he said that he got to know his partner from a different point of view, which was really interesting, that a point of view that they've never thought of looking at things before. So that feedback as well was very nice to see. And otherwise, I think the only, let's say, neutral type of feedback that we got was someone who was slightly upset that they couldn't add more partners because they were in a, I don't know how it's called, in a relationship where with three people. I don't know how it's, there is a term for
I've
it. I don't
heard
know how
a
it's
I've
called.
heard a term called polyamorous before.
Yes,
One of my
exactly.
patients
Yes.
was actually, he termed it polyamorous.
Yeah, so they are in a polyamorous relationship, and their only feedback was that, they were upset we couldn't connect all the three of them in the app, in the Better Topics app, because normally it is for, two people in a relationship. And, at that point we were like, actually, we didn't even think of that, but,
Maybe just
we
take
will work
turns,
on that as
saying,
well.
which ones are asking the questions. I mean, I have
Yes.
already, like I said, given your information about your card game to a patient of mine. It was much needed. I mean, and thinking back to the man from Japan, you basically put a tool in his hand because he had the desire, he noticed the problem, he wanted to pull closer to his wife, but he did not know how. And she certainly didn't
Exactly.
sound like somebody who was particularly amenable to therapy at all because she didn't even want to
Yes.
play a card game. So going to
Exactly.
therapy is hard, and I totally acknowledge that. I mean, it requires vulnerability, and some people just aren't ready for that. They just don't want to do that. And so this card game is a way, it's a tool. You've essentially given them a tool that they can in turn take and improve a relationship with someone that may not be wanting to go to couples therapy or something like that.
Exactly. And what I would add to that is that some couples might not even know whether they actually need therapy or not. You know,
That's true.
maybe they're like in between. They kind of could go to therapy, but not really. So they are not very certain should they or should they not do it. So I think they could get the Better Topics game, either the physical one or the app as well, go through some of the questions. And then if those questions are not enough, then they can actually turn to therapy. Then they would be able to realize that, the questions are not enough. We need more help than this, and then they can actually be certain whether they want to go to therapy or not. So yes, it is a tool that it's ready to use basically, and couples don't need to do any research beforehand unless they really want to, and they can just get it and start playing it. And again, what we wanted to achieve with this is that game like setting, because when you are playing a game you are generally more relaxed, We want to bring people away from we need to talk type of situations to let's play a game and let's have fun together type of situations.
That oh my gosh, that is such a wonderful point because when you say we have to talk, I mean right off the bat, just hearing that, your body starts kind of shutting down. You start getting defensive because you are thing unpleasant. And so
Exactly.
your card game just opens up an avenue where people can get more in the habit of talking about things and with one another and hearing what the other person has to say because the atmosphere is casual. It's not like
Exactly.
we need to talk. It's just much more
Yes.
relaxed and we're open to that. We're not
Yes.
defensive.
Exactly that. And also the way the game is set, they can actually play it as it is meant to be played, with the questions, with the game elements that it has, which we call modifiers. And these are add-ons like, for example, cancel the question. So if, for example, I would be playing it with my husband and he thinks he got me, locked in with a more difficult question, I can actually cancel it if I have that card and if I don't want to answer that question. Or I can even reverse the question so I get him to actually answer it, you know? So it's a back and forth, and it's still a game because it's still funny. And again, people can use it in so many ways. They can either play it as it's meant to be played, or they can just take out some of the questions that they think they want to ask and then just start asking those and start a discussion on those. We had, people who said that they are actually using it whenever they have like a long drive together, a long journey in the car. They are taking the cards with them and then they just go through questions, and then they just ask each other the questions whilst one of them is driving, which I thought it's a really great idea as well. Or as that guy from Japan did, they can just memorize some of the questions and start asking. Another thing that I actually told someone was that someone got the game again because the relationship wasn't going great and she wanted to get her partner to open up a bit and talk more about stuff that was going on, but he was quite reluctant. He looked at the cards and he wasn't very, let's say, happy with some of the questions because some of them are quite deep but then some of them are lighter. And what I told her to do was to take out the very deep questions or the ones he's not very comfortable answering, because it has over 56 questions. Even if you take out 3 or even 5 of them, you still have enough cards to play with.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't ruin the way it's meant to be played. So she could take out, those difficult questions until he starts getting into the habit of playing the game with her and talking about, even random things. And then once, after a while, after he got used to talking and playing more and more, then she can slowly, slowly reintroduce those questions into the game and then, get the conversation going on those topics as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Kind of like wading into a pool. It sounds like
Yes.
no matter what the personality someone has, they can use the game, whether they're ready to do a cannonball into the deep end or whether they're at the shallow end and they're just kind of sticking their toe in. Either way,
Yes.
they can take the card game and or the app, whichever way they want to use it, and kind of just adapt it to their particular relationship and the personalities involved.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes.
So I'm thinking if I were listening to this podcast right about now, I'd be like, where can I get this game?
So, for those of your listeners who want to get the game, they can find the physical card game either on our website, which is bettertopics.com, or on Amazon, UK, US, and Australia as well. And on our website, they can also find links to where they can find the Better Topics app if they want to get the app version instead of the physical card games.
That is awesome. Diana, I really appreciate your willingness to spend your time and your technology to meet me and have this conversation. Now, you had mentioned something earlier about wanting to do a giveaway.
Yes. So, thank you again so much for having me on your podcast. I really, really appreciate it. And because I wanted to give something more back, to your listeners as well, we are doing a giveaway for the Better Topics app. On the app, we have three levels of memberships. We have silver, gold, and platinum. And I want to give out a free 1 year gold membership to one of your listeners. The only thing they need to do is to go to Better Topics Instagram page and follow it, like and share the picture of this podcast, and tag three of their friends in their comment. And the giveaway will be live for 7 days after the podcast goes live. After which point, I will randomly select one person from the comments, and they and their partner obviously will get a 1 year free gold membership on the Better Topics app.
Well, that is so generous. Thank you so much of thinking of that and providing that. So there's some lucky listener out there that's going to be able to possibly get this free gold membership. And you said I think that's worth
Yes.
about $35 in US.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that is just wonderful. I just am so thrilled that, we got to be in connection with one another and, you're willing to come and share and the effort really. I'm so appreciative of the effort that you and Robert put into creating
Thank you.
this card game because it took, I mean, it's scary to be honest when you're putting something it's sacrificial. You had to take time away from other things in your life and you had to figure out a way to how you're going to fund the beginning stuff. And people don't think about what's involved when you're first starting a new business like that and you don't have the assurance of knowing it's going to be successful. And so there's a lot
Yes.
of insecurities. And so I'm so thankful that you all just kept pushing and believed in yourself because now your confidence and your willingness to persevere is helping so many people and is hopefully in my Phoenix and Flame community is just going to help so much more. I just can't recommend this card game enough. And like I said, if you like the physical cards, you can get that. If you'd rather do it on an app, you can do it that way. And you have different levels of memberships and you have the different, decks. We talked about intimacy, parenting, past stories, and new couples. There's just so many ways that this card game on bettertopics.com can help couples communicate and really pull together and really kind of possibly just let go of some of the assumptions they were making about one another that might be incorrect.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. I mean, we don't really know what the other person is thinking unless they actually tell us and we are truly listening to what they say.
yes. And sometimes they don't even know. Sometimes it's a subconscious thing that was, placed there because of the way they were raised. And they're
Yes.
not even aware sometimes of how they're perceiving what someone is saying or how they're responding, just simply because they've habituated to it. It's something that they've always done. And they don't know how it's impacting the other person. And so it sounds to me like your card game is really a wonderful way of just opening the eyes up of these individuals to help them understand one another and how they're coming across and really kind of just stepping back and going, oh, wow, I didn't realize that about myself, or I didn't realize that about you, in just a very
Yes.
fun, casual kind of way to do that.
Exactly. Because the more relaxed we are with our partners and the more we talk casually with our partners, the better it is, and the more information we are likely to find out, like useful information, instead of letting discussions generate a lot of arguments and shouting and all of that. That never solved anything, any problem. Although, it might seem like it did, it usually doesn't. It just builds up, and then to a point where people literally cannot stand each other anymore, which obviously we don't want to. So that's why we wanted to help couples, have those conversations. Like, you don't have to stress about it. It doesn't have to be shouting involved, it doesn't have to be frustration. Just have those conversations regularly, and then people will see immediate results, which is amazing. Even having one really deep conversation can bring in so much insight and so much growth to the relationship.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much, Diana, for your time today. Listeners out there, to my Phoenix and Flame community, if anything you have heard today has been inspiring to you, and I can't see that it hasn't been, there's no way that there's not something in here that's really, been meaningful, then I would really appreciate you sharing on whatever social media sites that are meaningful to you, your Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter, wherever you need to share things. Even if you want to just call somebody up or share it through email, let them know about this card game. And again, if you go to bettertopics.com, that's where you can really access the cards. I hope that you have had a wonderful day, and I hope the rest of your day goes good as well. This is Dana on Phoenix and Flame.